Hello everyone, I hope you're taking it easy and your day has been great thus far. For this video we'll be continuing through our blind box unboxing with a 11th blind box from the C01 Rollout collection. And this particular 01 collection is from the Blokees Wheels line, specifically with the Transformers IP in mind. So like we have for 10 blind boxes prior to, this will be a unboxing, time lapse and review of whatever's within the blind box. So this will be the 11th blind box of the 01 collection. So that means that it's only potentially 2 options left, with next week obviously being the final included character vehicle of whoever it is for the collection. Anyway, with that aside, pretty much the blind box. So that's one of the faces of the blind box, just a nice shot there of Optimus. Another side has one of Rodimus, and then we have the complete breakdown of the actual rollout collection. So at this point in time, it should be, actually I feel like I'm missing one. Maybe this isn't the 11th. Have I? Because there should be the Optimus, Optimus, Scamper, or Runabout. Have I done an update? You know what? Doesn't matter. Someone of this list is in this box. Otherwise, pretty much just some generic faces on the box. But one of them does have the little basic construction diagram and the instructions on how to build the blockage driver, who I've picked up in a different set. So now that we've done that, time to open up the box and figure out who is inside. Okay, so in terms of the blind box, there's this one sealed bag that is not see-through, which has all the parts to build the particular character vehicle. Inside the box is still the little tech spec and instructions for the character, because I'm trying to keep this as unknown as possible. So I'm going to put that to the side. Tear this open. And who is inside? Please don't go anywhere, Hopcat. I think it might be Scamper. I actually don't know. Guess we'll find out with the card if I ever get it out of the box. Okay, no, it's not Scamper. It is Runabout. Well, there you go. Finally, another Decepticon. I think it's only, what, the 4th Decepticon in the entire collection? So there we have it. So this should actually be very fun to put together. I have been looking forward to seeing what Runabout is all about. That was probably a terrible play in words. But yeah, Runabout. So from here on in, I will just sort out these pieces into a bit more of a logical order and then go through the time lapse. Okay, with the time lapse now over, here we have a completed Runabout. A very interesting visual aesthetic. I still dig it, but it does take a little bit of warming up to get used to. So here we have Runabout. So from the top, the side, the bottom, which does look very cool with some of that detailing, the other side, the rear, the front, very imposing front there. And when I'm not about ready to drop him, Runabout from a ankle shot. So Runabout does look very, very cool in terms of the colouring here. So he is sporting a primary charcoal with some light silver on the back, the front, and the caps on the wheels as well, which I will admit do look very cool. Now those are some very sporty looking hubcaps. We also have a bit of light grey coming through just from some of the vehicle chassis here as well. And then in terms of the windows, they're in this very nice dark translucent red. Reminds me of something Wild Rider would use as a colour, if we ever get one for Wild Rider. But overall, he does look very cool in his very interesting colours. Now, even though we've got Runabout here, it does make me wonder if we'll ever get, I think it is a Runamuck, who might be a very similar colour. In fact, I might just redo Runabout for Runamuck, who knows, but time will tell with this particular line. But overall, that is Runabout. As for what else was included, so obviously his little technical spec card here. So we've got the two-dimensional silhouette there, one of the actual vehicle with some of that light technical silhouette there, the stats, HP, attack, speed, and intelligence, and then on the back the actual instructions, which actually weren't too bad to follow. Probably some of the more straightforward ones. So that's very nice. So since I'm going to throw the card around, that was his little instruction card. Okay, so what else do we have? So what, I guess the next thing to look at is, so what features does this particular little vehicle of Runabout do? So, because he has wheels, very much can do backwards and forward motions on a nice flat surface thanks to those wheels. They will spin quite nicely there without too much issue. In terms of some of the other gimmicks, so the front hood will actually lift up, so you can actually see, maybe not in the video, just because lighting isn't too great and angling and stuff like that, you can actually see detailing for the actual engine block in there when the actual bonnet is up. And I will admit that is a very imposing front face. You know, throw in the Decepticon logo there as well. Very imposing. So we have that little gimmick. These doors will open, which is very nice, especially for a car like this. There is no gimmick here on the back where this lifts up. It's pretty much stuck in with some peg pins. But lastly, believe it or not, the top section will also open up to open up pretty much into the interior of the car. So I dare say Runabout was very much gimmick minded, to just be a case of open them all up just so that you can see what's inside. I mean, already that actually looks pretty cool. I mean, it gives you that car on the showroom floor kind of vibe, basically open and ready for viewing. So I think that is very cool. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning part of the video, the reference to the Blokees driver, I suspect the Blokees driver will be able to fit into that car seat. In fact, you can even see the steering wheel there, which I'll have to do at a later point in time. So that's pretty much the gimmicks for Runabout. That's actually very cool. From a gimmick perspective, he's definitely up there. I mean, I think Runabout is definitely going to be up there with some of my preferred vehicles within this particular collection, which funnily enough, a lot of them will be all sport car related. So if I had a look at the colors, the gimmicks, overall, Runabout looks very, very cool. I quite dig it. Now, as we usually do, time to compare against some of the other releases within this collection. So I guess we will go start with the Decepticons. So here is Runabout with drag strip. So another, I'm trying to think if Runabout even came into G1. He kind of does, just later on. But anyway, two of the actual vehicular Decepticons that are more based on cars than anything else. So that's those two. Runabout and Swindle. Definitely not too bad. You can definitely see Runabout is definitely there for aesthetics compared to Swindle. And then lastly, for the Decepticons, we have the comic-inspired Megatron as well. So overall, it does look very cool. In terms of length, Runabout isn't going to match the same length as Megatron, which is fine. It's not too surprising there. But there's those two together. And in fact, I'd probably say this is probably more of a comic-inspired design for Runabout, because he does have a bit more of a traditional vehicle look within the G1 comic styles. So that was against all the Decepticons. So against all the Autobots, let's start with some of the more sporty looking ones. So Runabout and Mirage. So while similar to drag strip, not exactly completely identical, but there's those two side by side. And yes, those two chassis designs already are definitely up there as my favorites. And here are probably two vehicles that are probably a bit more similar, with Runabout and Prowl. Surprisingly enough, I think Prowl is just slightly shorter. Prowl's still got probably a bit more of a Cybertronian aesthetic than Runabout, who probably still has more of a traditional Earth-based muscle car look. Let's go with Rodimus. Interesting colour difference here between that grey and black versus Rodimus with the red and the yellow. But very cool next to each other. And then I guess into less sporty looking cars. Here we have Runabout and Hound. Swerve and his giant Nerf blaster. And then Gears. Obviously a bit of a similar silhouette as Swerve. And to wrap things up, Runabout and a more G1 aesthetic Optimus. Not too bad looking, I guess, as far as comparisons go. A more comic style Optimus. This is the titanium coating. And then against Roller, as we always do. Why not? Roller's around. Obviously Roller's going to be shorter than Runabout. And then Runabout against Prime's trailer, which obviously there's going to be, trailer's probably just shy of 2 Runabout lengths. Gosh, if you keep saying Runabout long enough, you're going to suddenly start thinking Runabouts from Deep Space Nine. So yeah, definitely not too bad looking. And will Runabout go into the trailer? The answer is yes, with a little bit of clearance there as well. So that is very cool. Okay, so that's a comparison of Runabout against the current releases of the 01 Rollout collection that I've already unboxed, as well as a 01 Optimus Prime, who was standalone, hence why it's Prime in the trailer and Roller. So it definitely looks pretty cool against the wider collection, and I can definitely say from this particular collection, the more sporty looking vehicular chassis models probably going to be some of my preferred favourites of this line. Although in saying that, Megatron, whilst far from a sporty looking vehicle, I quite like his tank design for this one as well. So with all that done, what are my thoughts on Runabout? Runabout does look really, really cool. I have been looking forward to seeing what Runabout looked like with my own 2 eyes. I quite like the colors, I quite like the look. The gimmicks alone are really cool. As I said, of all the vehicles around, I like how he pretty much does that showroom look. Like, that is really cool. It's unfortunate that this part here isn't also on a bit of a hinge that could also open up. I think that would have been like the actual finishing point to have made this like a really, really cool car and good value for what you're getting. So overall, I like the colors, I like the design, everything works really well. I will admit, you know, still aesthetically, it does get a little bit of getting used to, because unlike other designs, this particular muscle car type design, as you can see, especially with the side, like, things aren't perfectly flat. Like, the doors are slanted. The way that the bonnet is done has this, I don't even want to call it aerodynamic. I don't necessarily think it is. Probably is to a degree, but it's not like a perfectly flush type of vehicle, say, compared to Rodimus. So it's a very interesting take on the vehicle mode, but I quite like it. It's something different. And of course I had knock camera, but yeah, overall he's a really solid vehicle. Like, I quite like it. Is it enough to like bump Mirage and drag strip off their mantle? Possibly. He's definitely up there in top 5. Obviously not much to say about the included card. I mean, it's always good to see this side, and as I always say, the instructions are nice. It's just unfortunate that the instructions are on that size of a card. Having almost built a dozen of these, well, technically I have built a dozen if I count Optimus, it does progressively get easier, but if you're doing it while not recording, it's probably a moot point. So overall, Runabout, really cool. Question mark if we ever do get a Runabout. And yeah, my usual grievance about the instructions still stand. So that's pretty much it for the, I'm pretty sure it's the 11th box for this collection. Now, I have a feeling I probably have stuffed up the ratios thinking that I'm going to get like a second Optimus, and I don't think that's the case. I think between Rodimus and Optimus, they're interchanged. We'll find out next week with the 12th and final unboxing, who I'm going to assume is Scamper. But saying that, find out in a week. Anyway, going to leave it there. Been here long enough, so thank you very much for watching this unboxing, time-lapse and review of the 11th blind box from the C01 rollout collection for Blokees Wheels Transformers, which obviously features Runabout. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. All of this does help support the channel, and I do appreciate it. There's also extra content on my Instagram and the YouTube community tab. It's pretty much work in progress stuff on literally whatever I'm working on. But more so for community tab than Instagram. I do like to do some quick behind the scenes shots of the opened vehicle after the fact. So keep an eye out for that if it hasn't already gone up. So with that being said, stay safe, take care, and I'll catch you all in a future video. So next week's will probably be the final unboxing of the collection for C01 rollout. Otherwise, I'll see you on something else on the channel. See ya.